during the added time, there's that back and forth with Dak Prescott, who evidently spit on the field, and Jaylen Carter thought it was at him, but it wasn't at him, and he spit it back. And
welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen, and your Philadelphia Eagles are 1-0 in a wild start to the year. An ugly game as we anticipated for week number 1, and a game that included just about everything. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday?
Doing well as expected. Feel like I got run over by a Mack truck.
You don't look like it, John. You look like $1 million this morning.
Yeah. I don't think that's in a regular morning, but I appreciate you saying that. But we're here, and we'll get through it. Obviously, the lightning delay did not help. But yeah, late night for people that didn't stick around last night. So a lot of positives, some negatives, but man, I'll tell you, this team just wins. It's like it's a thing. It's a thing. They find a way to win games, and it's intangible and all that stuff. So I know people like to put a number on things, but man, they just find ways to win. The point, and you shouldn't be able to win this way consistently.
I know.
They've broken me. I'm like, well, they do it. You shouldn't be able to, but they do it.
They just find ways. I mean, you said it at halftime. They're in a position again to find a way to win the game, and obviously a game that then included a weather delay. I don't think, when was the last time I don't remember the last weather delay we've had.
I can't remember. I mean, the old days they wouldn't delay it. So I mean,
yeah, right.
And now everything's about legal indemnity and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, I can't remember, but it's always a groan because they have these, it's got to be 30 minutes after whatever it is, after the last lightning strike. It's absurd, but that's, I'm sorry, it is absurd, but that's where we are as a society, and unfortunately, we got to deal with it.
No doubt about it. John, it was kind of the tail. We got a lot to talk about. We'll get to there. We got an interesting show planned today. Great show planned today. We're hoping to hear from Jeff Kerr. Now, if Jeff doesn't make it, I'm not going to beat him up for it. I don't know what time Jeff got to bed, but we think Jeff Kerr will be here. John said that's for the hardcore guys. I said I think Jeff Kerr is pretty hardcore, so we'll see if Jeff can make it here. And then in hour number 2, listen to this, everybody. The governor of Pennsylvania will join us. Josh Shapiro will join us here on Birds 365 for a little bit, for a small interview. So looking forward to talking to the governor of PA.
I would have dressed up more if I knew the governor was coming on.
Yeah, I didn't let you know. I didn't know until last minute, so you can't beat me up for that. But now we're going to talk to Josh Shapiro, Governor Shapiro. That's the governor of Pennsylvania. So we'll talk to him. That'll be interesting to talk to Gov Shapiro, see what he has to say about the game last night. John, it was kind of the tale of two halves. 44 points total in the football game, and 41 of them came in the first half. Only 3 points in that second half, man. It was a very interesting game, a sloppy game. Obviously started the way it did. One of the ugliest starts you could ever ask for if you're Jeffrey Lurie, I think.
Oh, my Lord. What an awful start. You're like, oh, is this going to be that type of season? As Ben Van Sumer's getting carted off, Jaylen Carter's losing his composure, and all of a sudden you lose somebody probably for the season. Hopefully we'll cross our fingers for Ben Van Sumer, but it did not look good. It seemed that like he recognized like right away it was something significant. And then, during the added time, there's that back and forth with Dak Prescott, who evidently spit on the field. And Jaylen Carter thought it was at him, but it wasn't at him, and he spit it back. And
I didn't really buy Dak's response, to be honest with you. Oh, did you want me to spit on my lineman? I'm like, all right, Dak. I mean,
whatever. But the point is, hey, you know what? There are antagonists in this league. I don't think Dak is one of them, but
me neither. I don't think we've ever seen an instance of him being a major antagonist or anything.
No, think about Brandon Graham and trash talk, and think about Draymond Green in basketball. Right. Everybody, there are people who will try to take advantage of you if you're going to lose your composure.
Right.
and a bunch of offensive linemen. Those guys are in history some of the biggest antagonists. They're like, they know when you're kind of losing it, and they'll poke and tweak. So Jalen's got to be careful with that stuff. Not only from the standpoint of, hey, don't screw over your own teammates, but from the standpoint of the officials, because you can get a reputation there, and then people will try to take advantage of you and get a free 15 yards by antagonizing you. So you better nip this in the bud, and the Eagles better nip it in the bud. You could argue it's already out of the bud because he's got a history from last year. And
yeah, what did you make of his comments after the game, Jaylen Carter's?
Yeah, I thought he was accountable. I was, I wasn't expecting him to talk at all. So
me neither.
I thought it was a positive. He didn't run from it. So I thought that part was a positive, but he put the team in a bad spot. Not only because he's their best defensive player, but that's supposed to be the strength of their defense, the interior. Now Jordan Davis had to play a ton of snaps. Moro Jomo had to play a ton of snaps. Byron Young had to come in cold, played very well, I think, Byron Young. And put him in a bad spot.
No, he did, John. I think this game would have went way different had he played in that football. I mean, I don't even know if we'd be sitting here talking about a game as close as it was. I mean, Dallas was able to run the ball, especially early in the game. Even if they weren't big chunk runs, they were able to move the sticks, by running the ball, which opened Dak up a little bit. I think it would have been a completely different game had he played. Now, I don't know what they're going to end up doing with Jaylen Carter. I don't know what kind of discipline. I think the NFL put out today that they're going to review the matter. Is that what they put out?
Yeah, that was real. I don't think he's getting suspended.
Me neither. I don't think he will.
He'll get fined, I assume. Now, what the Eagles do, they're probably not going to do anything. Nick made it very clear multiple times he's not talking about family business, so to speak, in public. So obviously he's already been talked to. Certainly Vic will talk to him. Will they bench him for a series or two? I always kind of chuckle at that. That's very collegey to me. Like, who cares? But
yeah, right.
They might just.
Me and Sills were talking about last night, John, and he's like, somebody was like, made a super chat. They should sit him next week so he learns a lesson.
No.
And Celia is like, yeah, he's going to get the Jimmy Johnson treatment. That's not Ty Robinson.
Exactly.
That's Jaylen Carter, man. I don't think they're sending him to the bench.
Yeah, the old Jimmy Johnson quote with Emmitt Smith. It was one of the running backs who fell asleep in a meeting, like the last running back on the team, and he cut him. And somebody asked him that question. Well, if that was Emmitt Smith, are you going to cut him? And Jimmy was very honest, and he said, I'll treat you all fairly, but I'm not going to treat you all the same.
Right.
Yeah, you got a longer rope if you're the best player on the team, and Jaylen Carter's the best player on defense at the bare minimum. So, I mean, that kind of stuff is silly. But he can't hurt the team. That's the key to me.
100%. Right.
And that message has got to be sent. It's a good first sign that he held himself accountable. Seems to realize it. But again, you can't let somebody else antagonize you. Can't do it. Because people will try to antagonize you. I mean, and when it works for you, people love it. With BG and all the trash talking and all that kind of stuff. And you gotta be a professional in those situations. Have to.
No doubt about it. John, let's get into the football game a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk plenty about the Jaylen Carter incident today and probably for the next week. We'll see how long it lingers and what kind of developments happen across the league. But what'd you make of the game, John? I mean, it was an ugly start. It was a particularly ugly start because of Carter, but that wasn't the end of the ugly start. I mentioned 41 of the 44 points in the game came in the first half. What'd you make of the football game that ensued after Jaylen Carter was ejected?
Yeah, it really was a tale of two halves, and I wonder how much the lightning delay that happened with like 44
4 minutes
exactly
left.
left in third quarter.
Right
So
after the Eagles takeaway, by the way.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
Cowboys
exactly
were
right.
about to score on their 5th straight
Yeah,
drive. So
yeah.
yeah.
And then for whatever reason, both teams struggled offensively from that from that board. So early nobody could stop anybody, and it was like, what's going on here? And it wasn't like, other than the 50-yard shot to Jahan Dotson, it wasn't like explosive stuff. It was just, you know, Jalen Hurts extending drives with his legs. It was that from the Cowboys' perspective, as you mentioned, their running game, it was not, you know, splashy, but they were
Right.
effective in staying ahead of the chains and making third downs manageable. That's one of the things with, both teams struggled on third downs defensively. Trying to get the numbers here. Um, so the Cowboys were 7 of 11 on third downs, and the Eagles were 8 of 13. So both well over 60%. Um, and that's not good for either team's defense. So that was a big part of the early scoring. Um, Although early in that first drive, the Eagles didn't face a third down until Jalen Hurts' first touchdown run. That was on a third down. It might have been the second drive, one or the other. They didn't face a third down on the whole drive. That's when you're cooking. Not even getting the third down for the opposing defense that can't get off the field.
Right.
And most of it had to do with Jalen's legs, to be honest. And the passing game, we're going to talk about it. I'm sure there was some stuff there, when they put up the all 22 and that kind of stuff. I'm sure there were throws to be made, because there always are. And that's one thing where, if you want to nitpick, and that's what we do on the show,
Yeah.
because all the Eagles do is win. So you got to nitpick. I'm sure there were throws that should have been made, and for whatever, he didn't see it and thought it was muddier than it was. But when he targeted someone, so he was 19 of 23.
And how many throwaways did he have? I think
Well,
he had 3
that's
throwaways.
the point. When he targeted people, he was 19 of 20.
Right.
So he had 3 throwaways. When he actually targeted people, he's 19 of 20. Now, again, nothing down the field except for the Dotson play,
Which was really a beautiful throw and catch.
perfect throw, best
Perfect throw.
deep ball thrower in the NFL. I'll say it. Perfect throw, and everything else was underneath. Like, it was just little chunks, but the Goddard stuff, the outlet stuff to Barkley late, which is good, because he's at least, acknowledging, all right, let me get it to a playmaker in space. But when you have Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, it's like, what's going on here?
That's what I don't understand. I mean, how do they have 4 targets in a full 60-minute football? It just doesn't add up.
AJ Brown went. Well, he caught his only pass and his first target with a minute 45 left, I think. A minute 45 in a game before he gets targeted. Now, earlier on, and I'm like, all right, they got to get the ball to AJ. And I was very hyper focused on one where it was obvious they were trying to get him on just a little comeback route, which wasn't there. And Jalen pulled it down. It was the drive before the final drive, and just ran it. So some stuff wasn't there, and the Cowboys took it away. The Cowboys were obviously, their whole plan was to take away that first read, and by and large they did it. But they didn't account for Jalen's running ability. But yeah, if this continues the way and it's not. I mean, AJ Brown's not going to catch one pass for 8 yards every week, so it's not going to continue. But
I was just a little interested, like, get Tula's first game. Don't you think first game coordinator, you would come in and say, all right, I got Saquon Barkley and I got A.J. Brown. Like, let me make sure I get them involved to increase my chances at success. Now, I know it doesn't always go that way, but I would have thought Kevin Patullo would have something in the arsenal for A.J. Brown. That's all.
Well, yeah, but that's my point. There's stuff in the arsenal and there's stuff designed and it didn't go. And that's what Nick tries to, and he said it after the game. I realized it was late, but so most people probably didn't listen to it. I mean, he went back to that 2022 game with Devontae, who didn't get a target.
Right.
And people were losing their mind. And the next week he had 6 for whatever and a touchdown. Sometimes it just works that way, but too often, and again against multiple. I was surprised. I saw some people online talking about how bad Kevin was. I'm like, boy, this is a tough town. People think I'm tough.
Bad. I don't think he was bad. I think there's things to evolve.
I'm down in the bowels of the Lincoln Financial Field congratulating the guy. I go, dude, that was awesome. Well, I like Kevin personally, so I got to be careful with this. I'm like, I thought it was an awesome first performance. And other people are just shitting on him.
Well, I thought he had a strong first half. I mean, I think they scored on most of their drives in the first half.
Yeah, they scored on their first 4 drives.
Right. So, I mean, I think from
touchdown.
But the second half wasn't as good for Kevin.
No.
And it wasn't as good for both teams on there was obviously 3 points scored.
It's very hard to keep sustained touchdown.
Right.
It's very hard to sustain that, but yeah, I mean, he's in it. And, Kellen went through this and Brian went through this. When you have these games, the Eagles have these games. They have these games where they don't throw for a lot of yards. I'm at the point where I started the show, I'm at the point where, like, I bought into Jalen's efficiency thing. Well, was it efficient? Because I came out of that game saying, I thought Jalen played really, really well.
I thought he played amazing. I did. I thought he played really good.
Now, there are times when they've had these low volume passing games where I've come out of the game saying, yeah, that's not a good game. Carolina last year. And there were a number of them last year. But that was the game that kind of spawned the AJ quote about passing, and it was just really ugly. I didn't get that feeling coming out of this game. But as long as you have those lack of numbers, we've been talking a lot about numbers because I hate them. And Jeff loves them, so hopefully he gets up. So you'll have that good dichotomy. But as long as you have this mentality that numbers mean something, it's going to be a narrative and it's going to be a story. And teams who throw for 152 yards generally don't win. The Eagles do. That is the goal, right?
Yeah, 100%, John, 100%.
So, yeah, but as long as you have those types of games, it's going to continue. That narrative is going to continue.
Yeah, and I think Jalen should continue to do what he's done to get to this point. Just don't worry about any of the outside noise, and I don't anticipate he will. John, let's go over to the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles. I think the problems that we talked about, John, all offseason, that some people weren't happy that we talked about, were clear that they were evident. All right. The cornerback spot, while I know you keep saying they got a good cornerback room, they do at 1 and 2, but that other outside corner, I think is going to be an issue. Adoree Jackson did not look great. Jacorian Bennett was handsy with everybody. I mean, I think he looked like he had a bigger upside. The edge rushers did not get much pressure. Now, granted, does everybody play better if Carter's out there? I'm of the assumption, yes, they do, including the secondary. He wasn't. So it's a little tougher, I think, to gauge the defense and what they were able to do. But what'd you make of the defense? What'd you make of some of the guys that you thought stood out, whether good or bad, on that defensive side of the ball?
Well, I thought the guys who stood out, one would be Zach Bond. I think Zach Bond maybe made the play of the game by chasing down Miles Sanders because ultimately the Cowboys would have went ahead. They didn't, and right after he chased him down, essentially came the fumble. The Eagles were able to Byron Young. I think Jahad Campbell they originally gave credit. I think when they look at it, they'll give Byron credit, but they both were in on the play.
Right.
That was obviously a big play, but it doesn't exist if Zach doesn't chase him down. And he got over next gen stats over 20 miles. He's chasing around. He's running over 20 miles an hour in the open field. And Miles played here he's not the same guy, obviously, but he was very fast when he was here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's not the same.
Still was pretty impressive to watch Zach Bond do that.
It's still a very impressive thing. So, Zach Bond, I think, played a tremendous game. I thought Jahad Campbell as a rookie played a really good game. You saw.
I thought Makuba was okay too. I mean, in the sample.
Yeah, I think they both. I think they both were. I think Drew was fine, but I think Campbell was legit good. And we'll see. I got
that one play, John, where he dropped back into coverage.
Yeah, like 30 yards down the field. Linebackers struggle with that.
Yeah, and you've been saying, I mean, one of the areas that he's kind of struggled through camp so far, at least just getting acclimated, was the coverage element. And I thought that was a really amazing play by Jahad Campbell there.
So I thought a lot of positives from Jahad Campbell. I thought because of the circumstances they were put in, and how much they had to play, I think Jordan Davis and Moro Jomo played well. Just the amount they had to play. And then I think Byron Young played well, coming in a tough situation. But with that said, I mean, some of the Moro stuff evaporated from a pass rushing standpoint. It wasn't dominant from a pass rushing. I just think he persevered.
Yeah, I thought Moore is going to have to give a little more. Now, obviously, life got tougher with no Jaylen Carter, but
and you had an All-Pro guard on the other side who was beating people up a little bit, and I think the edge rushers were not good. I thought the best edge rusher was Josh Uche, at least in a limited. He had two good. And he's just much more, and he should be. He's much more refined than Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt.
Right.
I don't know if he's prepared. I don't know if he's prepared to handle major snaps. But obviously, he's Azeez Ojulari and Obo didn't even dress. I think a lot of that was they were so concerned about Cavante Turpin. And they did a phenomenal job on him.
Yeah.
Braden Mann was unbelievable.
Braden Mann, man. What a good punter he is, man. They got rid of Cepas and brought him in, right? He's a great punter.
And then Jake Elliott banging through the 58-yarder.
John, I think that thing would have been good from 65.
Yeah. Oh, maybe 70.
Yeah, that thing was
that thing.
It was a boot.
I got a lot of shit from my peers because the last question in Nick's press conference was about Jake because I wanted to sneak it in there at the end, but nobody wanted to talk about a kicker.
Do you guys give each other shit if you don't?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Oh yeah, but nobody wanted to talk about the kicker. But no, I stand.
Yo, dude, kick rocks. I got an article to write. All right, you paying that bill? F all.
Wow, believe me, I'm not the one. I'm not the shrinking violet of the.
No, group. I know you're not, John. I know you're not.
I thought it was a very relevant question, but I also get the standpoint of nobody wants to talk about a kicker at 2 a.m. So
I think it's a factor. I mean, he struggled last year. I think he was.
I pride myself on talking about everybody on this show.
What, one of 8 last year from 50 plus?
he made one from 50 yards, and just the confidence to let him kick that. Because remember, if you're kicking a 58-yard field goal, if you miss that, you're giving the opposition really, really good field position.
Right.
So, you have to understand that part of it. And to have the confidence in him coming off last season, I thought was an interesting part of it. But yeah, special teams, they did a great job on Turpin. Man didn't even let him return. He had great punts. which you rarely see anymore, the coffin corner type stuff where you don't even let the returner have an opportunity. And then one of the reasons Patrick Johnson was up is because he's a good special teams player. So Maiden, Maiden, I'm tired. So Braden Mann had 3 punts for 146 yards, which 48.7 average, which is good. The net, though, which is the key and which is everybody should look at, that's
Right.
what was 48.7. Nothing. 48.7 gross, 48.7 net.
Right.
He had 2 inside the 20, 2 went, Turpin didn't even get an opportunity on 2 of them. So yeah, special teams, big part of that win.
Yeah, very positive performance there. John, what'd you make of the interior of the D line? I mean, I think it was a interesting test from the perspective of losing Jaylen Carter. I think I saw a tweet that you retweeted from Next Gen Stats about Moro Ojomo and Jordan Davis both playing over 85% of the snaps last night. Not something Jordan Davis has ever done in his career to this point. What'd you make of what they were able to do interior wise without Jaylen Carter?
Yeah, I thought they did well in difficult circumstances. The official numbers came out this morning. Jomo played 55 of 61 defensive snaps, 90%. Davis played 53, 87%.
Yeah.
You can imagine. So that total, 108 snaps total, Jaylen Carter's the guy playing 90% if he's playing.
Yeah.
So the rest of those.
Todd Campbell, he had 92% of the snaps last night.
Well, yeah, he's a starter. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it's going to be. And Sidney Brown at safety did play a little bit because they played him. It was interesting. So all that we were talking, where's Cooper going to play in the base defense, which they rarely play? He played outside corner. He didn't play safety. So what they did was they had him at outside corner. Sidney Brown was the safety in the base defense, and that's how they got him some work. And then when they went to nickel, and they're in the nickel far more, Makuba came in at safety. Tajin went inside, and Adoree Jackson played outside. So that's how they handled it. But, yeah, I thought those interior guys did really well and deserve a lot of credit. Not only for how much they had to play, but specifically Byron Young coming in, like he didn't expect to play that much.
Right.
And I expect he was playing nose tackle on occasion. He was playing every part of the line, and he was aligning people. He was getting people in the right position. I was just really impressed with him.
Yeah, I thought I agree. Good stuff. John, what'd you make of the corners, man? I think Adoree Jackson really struggled. I know after the game he said I think he had a C. I'm like, I don't know about that, Adoree, but I won't beat you up. You did get the win. What'd you make of the corners last night? I thought I didn't even think Quinion had his best game. I mean, I thought he was there, and when you're going up against 2 tough receivers like that, I think you're going to get beat. It's just the nature of the NFL.
Yeah.
But I didn't think the corners were too great. Now, maybe that gets shifted when you have Jaylen Carter wreaking havoc in the middle of the field on Dak Prescott. What'd you make of the corner play last night?
Well, obviously, Adoree didn't play well, but and even, but one of my fears about Quinion, because he had a great summer, and wouldn't surprise me if he was in the All-Pro conversation long term, and Moro to a lesser extent because of all the hype that he got, is the expectations people have. Like, well, he's never going to get beat. What's going on? He had a 34-yard pass interference call, which I asked you about on the post-game show. Because I can't see. I thought,
did you catch the replay of it at all?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's I haven't. I'll watch it here.
Yeah, you probably didn't get home till 4, and you're up here.
I'm not. I'm not. I wasn't.
I know you haven't had all the time in the world to go back to
that. But yeah, they have TVs in the booth, but they're farther away. It's not as easy to see, but you're going to get beat in the NFL. I don't know where this mentality came. So NFL rep stats. Let me get the exact tweet sent me. The Eagles last year. The Eagles committed 8 DPIs, defensive pass interference penalties, for 131 yards the entire season, including the playoffs. They had 3 in the first half last night for 50 yards. And it was Mitchell, and it was Jackson, and it was Bennett, all 3 of them. So yeah, I don't think it was the best, and that was from NFL Rep Stats. You should go follow him on the X platform.
Yeah,
but it that was a great season. But as I always say, special for a reason. Doesn't mean you're going to replicate it. And they're probably not going to replicate the way they played last year. But doesn't mean that they're still not strong at that position with Quignon and Cooper. We'd probably be having a different conversation about the corners. I thought the same thing as everybody else. Well, they persevered. Now, if C.D. Lamb caught the damn football, we're probably having a different conversation, because he had big time chances to make big plays.
Yeah, and those 4 drops they weren't 5-yard routes, John. They were down the football field. I mean, he had 7 catches for 110 yards. So
he could have had 200.
That's what I mean. And he makes some of those catches. We might be talking about a different outcome here, because a couple of the drops were key 3rd down drops.
Yep.
Where Dallas had to punt the ball. I mean, late in the game too. So that was a major issue for the Cowboys. C.D. Lamb last night. Dropping the football, not good from C.D. Lamb.
So my first impression was they did not play that well as a group, and obviously Adoree was the main culprits. But I think they'll eventually get to Jacorian Bennett. How quickly they get there, maybe this speeds it up, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, that position's probably going to be an issue, because again, you're comparing it to Darius Slay, so it's probably going to be an issue.
Yeah, the one thing I'm wondering too about that defense is the youth. We've talked about the youth all year long, and hopefully we don't see signs of immaturity that continue to permeate on the team. That's something you got to. In my estimation, Vic Fangio and the defensive players who are given C's to wear on their jerseys. 2 new guys this year, and Zach Bond and Reed Blankenship. They got to do something about that, at least in my eyes. There, I would jump ahead of that quickly. So, what do you think Howie's thinking, though, John? I mean, there were some rumors this week or in the last week that Howie has been, and you even were saying it here on this show. You were reporting it. They didn't not add an edge rusher for lack of trying. They were trying to add one. And they were in the Micah Parsons conversation, as Adam Schefter conveniently put out yesterday. What do you think Howie was thinking in that game? I don't think he's done with this roster. I don't know how long he'll wait now that the season started. It's kind of a weird trade period. I don't know how many teams trade guys in the first 2-3 weeks of the year.
Yeah, you're not going to get, you might get something. Right? You might get something at the trade deadline. That it might turn into Robert Quinn, but you might get somebody who's got somewhat of a history for a team that's not doing well and wants to dump somebody for some reason. But that's he mentioned he's going to look at it closely in September. Well, here we are in September. He's looking at it closely, and it was not positive, other than I think Josh Uche. Again, and I'm talking about 2 rushes basically. I'm not talking about. I
did see the 2 rushes you're talking about, though. They were good rushes. Yeah.
I don't think Jalix played that well on first look. I don't think. I don't think Nolan played that well on first look. He had a couple splashy things, but he ruined the one with. He was better, as a run defender, which is weird because he's so undersized. But he's really good setting the edge, Nolan Smith. But as a pass rusher, I saw one sort of blip. And the Cowboys are not what they once were on the offensive line, but they're okay. And I thought it was big that Tyler Guyton was back. Smith is awesome, by the way. Tyler Smith is awesome. He was really beating some people up.
Yeah.
But
I knew he was good. I didn't realize he was that good. They put a stat on the screen last night. I forget what it was, but it was something about pressures allowed. He leads the league in guards, and I think it was last year, and pressures allowed. So he's really good. That kid.
Yeah, he really is.
I think he's only 24 years old too.
Yeah. And the Eagles have a very good. We have to talk about Landon. Didn't finish the game, but
yeah, shit. That's right. Gotta get there.
But yeah, it wasn't a great opening for the edge rushers, and obviously Aziz didn't even play, and Obo didn't even play, and Patrick. That was probably very Dallas centric to have Patrick Johnson for a special teams value. But they're already supposed to work out Isaiah Foskey this week. Who was a second-round pick a couple years ago. So those are the kind of guys you're looking at as potential. All right, can this guy make us a little bit better? And he worked out for the Bears yesterday, so who knows? The Bears might sign him. He might not even get here, but he's the 40th pick in 2023, so pretty high-level pick. Maybe you can get incrementally better with somebody like that. I don't know what happened in New Orleans, but I do know he hasn't had a sack in his first 2 years, so that probably has a lot to do with it. So it's not like you're finding an answer.
Right.
Maybe you can get a little bit better, but the ship has probably sailed on difference makers.
Yeah, well, there's a couple things I'm rooting for here, John, at the start of the year in the NFL. Ready? I'm rooting for the Eagles' success because I am a fan of the Birds. And I'm rooting for the Jacksonville Jaguars to start 0-6 because I want them to think about cutting bait on Trayvon Walker, Johnny Mac. That's who I want.
Yeah, well, you never know because Tony's listening, Tony Khan.
Well, I mean, John, if Howie was in the conversation for Micah, which we knew he was because he's in the conversation for everywhere, and I don't know what level that went to.
Yeah, it didn't go far. Come on, Adam. Come on.
But if he's in that type of room, that might suggest he's willing to pay more than what we originally anticipated, maybe more than a Temu guy. We'll see what he ends up doing or if he does anything.
Well, the thing about the Eagles is, and really, this was exemplified, and Howie said this in public, so I can say it, with Saquon and Zach Bond, because everybody's like, well, he doesn't pay running backs, he doesn't pay running backs, he doesn't pay running backs. Well, he paid a running back when he got a great running back. He doesn't pay stacked linebackers, off-ball linebackers. He doesn't play off-ball linebackers. He doesn't pay off. Well, he paid a great one in Zach Bond at the level of those positions. Obviously, a difference, edge rushers, top tier other than quarterback. He will shift his thinking for what they think are great players. And obviously they think Micah Parsons is a great player, which I've been screaming from the rooftops for as long as possible, but people don't want to believe it. So whatever.
You wear that cowboy jersey, John, you get a little bit of clouded vision in Philly.
But there's a difference between Micah Parsons. Like, is he going to pay Trayvon Walker 30? And probably not.
I'm thinking 26, 27, man.
So it depends on a lot of different things, but he has that mentality of all right, this guy's different, this guy's different, this guy's different, and I'll change because of the player, not the position.
Right.
And their philosophy is get great players and pay those players regardless of position.
Yep. John, let's talk about Landon Dickerson. Went down last night. You were worried about kind of the injuries that stacked up for him coming into the year. He was unable to finish the game. I don't know if we're looking at extended time, but I think there's a situation here, John, where the team should protect the tough player from himself if they need to. I know he wants to be out there, and believe me, I respect that and I appreciate that. But these are not win or go home games. They're just not yet. You don't win Super Bowls. You don't win playoff games in September or October. If I'm the Eagles, I'm going to take a cautious approach with Landon Dickerson moving forward and try and make sure he gets as close to healthy as he can. What'd you make of that situation, him not finishing? And then is there any update on Landon that you might have?
Just that it was the back and it wasn't the knee, because you're always concerned, all right, what's going on?
Right.
But it was the back. He played 52 of the 63 snaps, and then Toth came in and finished. But he was able to walk off on his own, walking slowly. He never went in the injury tent. He was talking to trainers for a while, and then he walked off. You never know with back issues. I assume that the 10-day rest period is going to help a little bit. From the standpoint of what you said, I agree with, like in the laboratory. I like to call that laboratory talk. Like players like Landon Dickerson don't exist if they say, oh, well, this game's not important. Like they think every game's important. That's why they exist. And they are important from the standpoint of comparing it to other sports. There's only 17 of these things.
Right.
And especially division games, because your number one goal is to win the division first. Well, if they lose that game, it's week one. You say plenty of time to recover, but it's also you're losing a division game. So it's like a double whammy to lose that type of game. At home, you're losing a division game. So the mindset of the Jalen Hurtses of the world and the Landon Dickersons of the world are, no, this is very important. And that's part of what makes them who they are. So I agree with you from the standpoint of, yeah, if it were me, I'd be like, well, I'm going to try to get through this without Landon Dickerson. But it's tough to impart that to a player like that. And if he's healthy, I at least deemed healthy enough to play, he's going to continue to play. That's just who he is.
We'll see what ends up happening with Landon Dickerson. Hopefully he gets healthy, and we'll see how the Eagles manage him moving forward. We do have a beauty of the Thursday night open is you do have a mini bye a little bit. You don't play this weekend, and then the next game will be a 4:25 game in Kansas City. And somebody alerted me to it last night, which I knew, but I didn't think about it. Kansas City's got to fly home from Brazil, John. So, hey, maybe there's a small advantage there for the Birds in that regard. Let's go to some super chats, John. We got a lot of them this morning.
No, I don't think Jeff Kerr's getting up, by the way.
No, I don't think so either. But we are going to have the governor, so we'll have Governor Shapiro on the show today. That'll be pretty cool. I know there's going to be a lot of people that love that and a lot of people that don't like that, John. But as you said before the show, you can't turn down the governor. All right, you can't turn down the governor. So that'll be good to talk to Governor Shapiro here on Birds 365. Looking forward to that. Eduardo says, Dak spat first, got caught in 4K, rage baited Carter. Again, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Instead of 1 low-quality human behavior, we had 2 low-quality human behaviors in my eye. That didn't really change that much.
Don't make excuses for your team.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the things that Nick Sirianni preaches is be great at the things that don't take talent, because you can control them.